We'll call the meeting to order here. Folks, in an email that Katie had sent to you was our agenda for today. Proposed agenda for today. You hopefully have an opportunity to review it. If there's no questions on it. Do I have a motion to accept the?
I move that we accept the.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Also, last time we met was on May 16th. That was in the town of Torrance. And we also, hopefully you all received copies of the minutes for that meeting. If there's no questions or concerns with those minutes, we'll have a motion to accept the minutes as proposed. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Who's second?
Nope, nope, that was down.
I've got a new phone, but I don't know.
Is it you? Is it you?
Brand new yesterday. I don't know how to-
Now you're stuck.
That's how I want you.
How's that? Thanks. Okay.
I don't even know how to shut it off.
Welcome to the our June Town Hill Commission meeting. I want to thank the town and village of Adams for sponsoring and hosting our meeting today. And what I'd like to probably do is just kind of go around the room, we make some introductions. And I'll kind of go this way. I'll start. I'm Jan McDonald, I'm chairman of the Tug Hill Commission, and I live in the town of Vermont.
I'm Leona Chernowski.
I'm Jerry Ritter, I'm from Manatee County, town of Fort Scott, Commissioner.
Town director, town of Oxford, town of Watertown.
Sandra March, C2AE Engineers and Architects.
Phil Checker, Mayor of Village Adams.
Lee Wilbanks, council.
Jennifer Harville, Tug Hill Commission. Katie Malinowski, Tug Hill Commission Executive Director.
Bill Scrabble from Parish.
Thank you and welcome here. What we'll do is we'll kind of get right into the chairman report here. In your package, you email that the Katie also sent you, is it looks like we have final.
Not quite probably.
Preliminary final. If anything in today's environment is final, that's what we have.
I think the assembly districts will eventually change, but not for now.
Okay.
Sometime in the next year.
So what we have is maps of our congressional districts for the region. We have our Senate, New York State Senate and New York Assembly. In this game, folks, as you know, more is better. That's always been my opinion. And it looks like we got a little bit of that. So in the congressional district, it looks like we have 3 representatives for Congress, 21st, 24th, and 22nd. When we had on the Senate, it looks like we have 3 districts, 49th is taking up the majority of the hill, and then you got the 53rd and the 50th. On the Assembly, I think this is good. It looks like we are now moving to 5 representatives in the Assembly, and that is always good. Any questions on that?
There were some good changes in the 117th. Because previously Uno was not in there. At the town of Kirkland, which is Clinton Water.
Yeah.
So
That'd be interesting. The town of Floyd in the 119th. But in previous years,
they had.
Floyd was always one town.
Yes, they
Yeah,
were.
well, always with Rose.
All right, yeah. Good, okay. You folks should have received a letter from the state of New York, from Jacob, talking about a major breach that they had with data. If you didn't receive that, then it came to me on May 27th.
That doesn't mean I'm part of the breach, does it?
Everyone was part of the breach. Data breach. So in essence, what happened was that all of our information for somewhere around 50,000 people was compromised. Now, the only way I really can see is that they immediately found that they were compromised and they put in firewalls. So that your existing password is not going to be a problem. But what people tend to like to do is they will use the same password for multiple accounts. So if you have listed that you have investments in Oppenheimer or in Rochester Fund, those kind of things, and you're using the same password as you did for Jacob, we strongly recommend you change those passwords. So again, if you're using the same password over multiple websites, over, we probably need to change it. But as far as Jacob goes, is that was, they put firewalls in existence just long enough for them to go out of business. So, okay,
Now, is that only if you file electronically?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
So you might be all right because. you
I
never had
did.
it. Oh, did you?
No, I didn't electronically. It wouldn't let me.
Even this year, you haven't been
Yes,
able
I
to?
got the password and everything, but I still couldn't do it. So I printed and mailed it.
See, I told you I never liked that whole.
Well, Leona, it gets better. So we just passed, the Senate just passed the ethics reform bill, which Jacob is now being replaced by JLCES.
I don't even know.
They don't even have commissioners appointed.
Yeah.
Not yet.
They don't have a staff, they don't have an office, they just have a bill that was signed.
Yeah.
That's it. What are they gonna do?
Apple isn't gonna be there.
I guess in essence, that they determined that the way Jacob was structured with trying to service the executive branch, the legislative branch, the lobbyist group, which is huge in the state, as well as, any employees, New York State employees above a certain pay grade. They decided that they wanted to split it up. So if this thing is gonna work and how long it takes to get the boards in place, we're going to 2 boards. They're gonna establish an ethics commission, which is gonna be a 6-member board, it's gonna focus on the legislative. And then all of us, and then there's going to be a reestablishment of the lobbyist commission, which is extremely important, which is really gonna do increase disclosure requirements for lobbyists, which I think is probably definitely necessary in the state of New York. So more to come as this thing unfolds, we'll let you know how that's going to impact us. Any questions? With that, let's roll right into the executive director report.
All right, so I had fun last week and took my first trip back to Albany, post-COVID here, and met with the new Secretary of State, Robert Rodriguez, just to introduce him to the TEDCO Commission, since we have that strong tie to DOS. It was a very good meeting. He was a former assemblyman from New York City, and he's been the Secretary of State for probably 3 or 4 months now. Very personable, had a very good meeting, a lot of, gave him the overall of the commission, but then he wanted to know what the issues were in the region, what was on our minds. So talked a lot about minimum maintenance roads, actually. He comes from with a legislative hat on from his prior experience. So we had some good conversations about that. DOS is trying to look at their programs, especially it seemed on the local government side, and reinvent themselves a little bit. So he was asking about shared services and, how could they tweak things or change things. That was very good. Oh, you're still rolling? And then, thought they were all locked. We talked about broadband. It was a wide ranging conversation. He's looking to get out and about, so I invited him up if he would like to come up. Maybe we could get him to the annual meeting. We'll have to see, but I have some follow-up to do with him.
Let's get him up the night. Let's get him.
Yeah, that would be nice. Get him up with Lighthawk or Bob Keller.
Yeah. Actually, I'll see about this Saturday. I'll let you.
Okay. After that meeting, I went and met with several other DOS staff, both on the community development side of the house and the local government side of the house. Again, very good. We are in communication with them a lot. We had done during COVID some staff combined meetings with them. So it's just a good relationship. Talked about the Northern Border Regional Commission, and there's a new federal co-chair coming for that. He's going to be in the area at the end of July, so invited him to come, and hopefully we can host him for a day here in the region. Talked about a new program that DOS is starting to unroll called the New York Forward. Everyone's probably heard of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI, which has been the $10 million per region for several years. Watertown's gotten Oswego, Utica, a bunch of others. And we've talked to GLS for years about trying to scale that program down to communities that are more our size, that are never gonna come up with $10 million worth of projects, or we have the wherewithal to implement them. So now this New York Forward program is gonna be met for the smaller rural communities, and they're supposed to be unveiling it this coming Monday, and hopefully I'll be there for the unveiling. It's gonna be, again, broken out by region, but smaller pots of money, a little easier, I think, for communities to access to manage. So once the actual guidelines come out, because they're not out yet, we're gonna be pushing that hard and sharing it, because we should have some communities that jump on this. This is an opportunity for them. So stay tuned for that, but it was a very good meeting in Albany, and hopefully, again, that I'll be back there next week. I do have bad news too. So the New York State Museum Tug Hill exhibit that many of us have seen over the years, which was pretty pitiful, really dank, dark, black and white. It didn't look like any place you'd want to go, let's just say. Well, I contacted the New York State Museum, since I was going to be in Albany, to follow up on conversations we've been having for years about improving the Tug Hill exhibit. And they said to me, sorry, Katie, but it's not there anymore. We replaced it with such and such, and we are in the middle of renovating Adirondack Hall and one of the other halls. And so they're totally revamping a whole bunch of stuff. So I was like, okay, well, then can we have a little better piece in the new revamp? So I dropped off some materials to them when I was in Albany last week. And so I will continue to have that conversation, because I know it's one of your priorities, and it should be a priority in the New York State Museum.
Mine too.
Yeah, I mean, you're
The
it's
quote from
gone,
my
the quote from your
grandfather right there
grandfather is
on the
gone.
wall.
And we still can't find your sled, Jerry, that you
Okay.
guys donated, and I followed up on that a couple times. That wooden bobsled
Bobsled.
that you guys donated, don't know where that is, so I'll be.
Somebody's garage, probably.
Or made into a coffee.
So, I'll continue to be, it's a beating a drum, and it's wearing it down, and I'm trying to come to them with, we've got the information, we've got the background, we can even go out and find money for you if that's an issue, like to try to, give you the resources to do Tug Hill correctly, so we will see, but yeah, I had a chuckle when they said we weren't even there anymore. Administratively, our soon-to-be new planner's name is Matthew Smith. We interviewed him, I think, again, since we met. And he accepted the position, and he is hopefully starting by the beginning of August. Brand new Siena graduate. He has got a degree, I think, in political science and history, but has a real interest in planning. He did an internship with EPA. I felt bad. He said, yeah, I had an internship with EPA. He spent a semester in Washington, DC, but he never got to actually go into the agency building because they made him work remotely, because it was still during COVID. So he's really anxious to be in an office setting where he can be back and forth with people. Right now, we've had another internship with Saratoga's planning department, which has been in person. He really has appreciated that. He wants to learn GIS. That was one of the main reasons he wanted to come to us, and we said we can get you set up with GIS, not a problem. So now we're gonna have two Matthews that are planners, so we're talking about what his nickname's gonna be. We haven't figured that out yet, but really happy about him coming on board soon. Elena also will be back from maternity leave early August, so we will soon be fully staffed as we've been in many, many years. We'll have 14 of our 15 big slots filled. And so my thought right now is let the dust settle, let everybody come back, get everybody up to speed, and then figure out where we are, talent wise and staff wise and workload wise and budget wise, because we got to see how that's going to make our bottom line look. Because again, we haven't been at this level in a while. So good news
How
there.
many total staff?
So we'll have 14 out of 15. We have 15 full-time equivalents on the books now.
Mhm.
We lost 3 way back when.
Yeah.
Because it had been 18 when I first started. But so that's pretty good. And I was talking to DOS people in Albany, they have a lot of vacancies too, and they've had a lot of turnover. And they've been struggling to fill them. So we're not unique, but I think we're in pretty good shape right now. I was really happy to be able to recruit him from, where is he? Glens Falls. It's from Glens Falls.
I went to the post office today and Lori
There's a sign on the window. Sorry, we're closed today. No, a shortage of staff.
Really? Really? It is.
Awful.
So, yeah, I consider us really lucky to be able to help many people fill that. Another staff related thing, it looks like, well, first of all of our performance advances went through for eligible employees. So that's about 4 or 5 of us that aren't at grade level yet. And it looks like there's gonna be cost of living increases for MCs that retro to April 1st of 2021 and April 1st of 2022. So that's gonna impact our overall personal, services number. So again, I wanna wait and see how that all shakes out.
Doesn't it run through the MCs and then the unions? How's that?
Basically, the unions get their contracts in place and the MCs follow suit, and it's like a separate pay bill. And so I don't think it's all the way through. I think it's almost there, but it hasn't been signed or implemented yet. So there's a organization for management confidential employees. They're kind of the lobbying group for MCs, and they have a website, and that's where we get actually a lot of information. You go on there and see what's coming. Regarding the local government conference, we are still working to finalize the Turning Stone contract for 2023. As we were processing all of the bills from 2022, we found that our costs were over 50,000 with Turning Stone, which triggers a comptroller's contract review that we were unaware of. So we begged forgiveness this time around. And remember, that's $50,000, but we reimbursed most of that out with all our registrations and stuff. So it's not $50,000 out of our budget. But tried to explain that it didn't really matter. We still have to follow all this. So now that we're having a new contract, we're going through the correct process, which is fun. We've never done that before because we don't typically have contracts over $50,000. So poor Felicia's got to get new roles, and we've got to upload this and talk to that. So we're working on it.
Did you have to go to bed on these or no?
It depends. Yeah,
It's
there's
a
different.
service-related contract.
Yeah.
I know I have to do it a lot.
Yeah, there's different thresholds, and 50,000, you do have to have some kind of bidding or looking at other alternatives. This is kind of a unique thing, so we
It's a
explain.
service contract, so I think it
Yeah.
require you to document you've gone out.
Yeah.
You have an FWE on it or no?
Well,
Because I know they hammer.
yeah, I think there might be a small amount, and we'll see what they say when they look at the contract. And if they're gonna come back and say you need to meet some kind of threshold, then I don't know how we do that.
That type of person just deals with that.
Well, and it's
One
funny
person.
because, DOS has a whole bevy of people down there, and sometimes they aren't even sure of the answers. So it's a very complicated procurement.
Trying my
Process.
world.
Yeah. Can imagine.
It's,
One headache after
we
another.
talk millions, they just. It's just unbelievable, amount of paperwork. It's almost like I don't want the money now.
I know, it does make, you have to jump through a lot more hoops and more money you're dealing with. I already mentioned the Northern Border Regional Commissioner, our commission will have a new federal co-chair, so we'll get him hopefully in the region. I think, I was trying to think of a project that Northern Border funded in the region, and I think the best one will be one of the conservation easements that the land trust secured. They got a Northern Border Regional Commission grant many years ago, so I've got to coordinate with them to try to get him out on the property and see what they spent their money on. So the next,
We had one.
Okay.
We put a rail spur in connection work.
we can bring them there after Tug Hill, we'll bring the Oswego.
I'm just saying,
No, it would be a
Oswego
good
got
one,
one.
yeah, no, it would be a good
In
one.
fact, I think we're the only one in Oswego to get one,
Okay,
and it's history.
I will mark that
They
down.
usually go to water, sewer, and stuff like that.
And that's exactly what Kyle said, well, we'll take them to see some water and sewer, and we'll work with development authority. I'm like, well, I know that there's been some other ones too, why don't we get it, because, yeah, water and sewer, yeah, I mean.
Because when you read their legislation, their initiating legislation, there's supposed to be economic development
Right.
too.
Yeah,
That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what they've done is because the staff feels more comfortable doing that, they go that way, but I kind of chopped them off and said, this is the economic development piece. blah, blah, blah. But then they went, I think, to Ogdensburg and Messina up in the area, and they got rail up there too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're very what do you call, single focused.
Right, you gotta kind of, well, I mean, the land trust, I'm assuming that they made the argument was probably an agricultural conservation easement, so it's farming and it's economic development. So that was probably a stretch for Northern Border to do an easement.
Yeah, they're good people to deal with when I dealt with, but they're very,
Right, right now they have two that I know of pending grant applications to them in the region. One is for the Farragut paper mill, which is being looked at for a build ready NYSERDA solar farm on the old paper mill project property up in Black River, on the Black River in the Farragut. So that's one application that went in, and then the one we talked about at the last meeting with the Term Ridge Riders and the snowmobile groomer and again, they had the economic impact study for snowmobiling, so they could talk about economic impact.
yeah, you need a BCA, you need to have jobs created. That is what they really look at.
Benefit cost is key.
Yeah,
Yeah, benefit cost analysis, you gotta tie up the jobs, full-time FTEs, part-time FTEs, move on from there. Because I actually have to show FTEs, which you know, unfortunately, doesn't work for life.
that's not
Beyond
a problem,
yeah, there's no FTE. I got too many FTEs.
Okay, so the next thing, you all should have gotten, the personnel policy update on an email, and it is in your packet, and it's, oh, this is not the right one that you have. Oh, wait, I guess it is, but it's not redlined. I was hoping you would have had the red line going. So anyway, there was a few things added, and it was mainly to reflect some additional leaves that we did not have enumerated in the personnel policy, the extended medical leave section, which is under attendance and leave benefits number 3. Boy, Lee, you're gonna have to remind me, I was counting on this being redlined. What else did we change? Did you see the red line version on your email though? Okay. So did you have any questions on any of that? This is something me and I went back and forth on. I met with Jan on it. It was just to really add the leave thing and some paperwork requirements for leaves. There's a reasonable accommodation healthcare provider form that we were unaware of. We had to work with DOS. They shared that with us. Again, that's attendance and leave benefits number 3. And we have used that a few times recently, so we thought that was important to have reflected in the personnel policy, so it's everyone's aware of it if they had a need to try to take that leave.
And I think if you notice, we don't change personnel policy very often. I think if you look back, it was amended in, it was adopted in 74, and then we've only had over since 74 to current, we've only made 5 amendments to it.
Yeah.
And if you're in the human resource business, you should probably be looking at this on an annual basis.
There's a lot of.
Federal laws change those types of things. Any
Well-
questions? Chance to review it.
And I will say that Matt, Jen, and I, related to this, just took a management training over the last 6 weeks, and it was a lot of law stuff, and it opened our eyes to a lot of things that, unless you have some formal training in HR, you just really don't know all this sort of thing. So we are trying to keep up, but it's a very fast changing landscape, especially coming out of COVID.
But you understand civil service, right? You have a
We have a-
contact.
We have MC, there's an MC handbook and Goer. Well, it's not even called Goer anymore. I don't know if anybody.
But what I'm saying is you have someone in the house does HR know, so how do you really, I'm just asking, because I'm curious, how do you do HR then?
So it's a lot of things fall to me. Felicia does some things, and then if I have questions, I go to PD or we go to DOS and ask their HR professionals, because they have specific full-time HR people.
Any questions?
Have fun.
You
So we need,
motion
I
to
do need,
adopt this?
I do need a motion to
Yeah.
adopt this. Tom?
move.
Second, yeah,
Second.
I think, you're the beach, all those in favor?
I didn't hear it, so it doesn't count.
Looks like that's everybody. Thank you.
And then the next thing for approval, you all have a draft MOU between the Tugwell Commission and WPBS TV out of Watertown. I think we talked about this at the last meeting, about doing a new documentary with WPBS. We did the last one 25, 30 years ago, and I cannot find the VHS tape. I looked for it the other day. I gotta dig deeper. Yes, Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly is Amber. Sorry, I'm not paying attention. So,
Was
yeah.
that
we-
the one that was done by, is it Call or Glenn Cole? Who was that? Goff, is it Goff? or-
I don't remember. I honestly don't
No.
remember.
And I don't, so I remember.
I just know we did one.
My mother played
She did.
music for it.
That must be the one. Okay, yeah, they had fiddler music, that's right.
I talked to Mark Pursoon at WPBS and I said, you guys did one a long time ago. He goes, yeah, and I haven't been able to find it either. So
I probably got it someplace if you.
if you, oh, okay, I might end up having to get it and have it transferred from VHS
Well,
to
you
electronic.
have to, because that's what I would have done.
Yeah. So we talked about that. They had a lot of ideas for how to fund it, but I think we should have some skin in the game. So the MOU outlines total contribution from us of $10,000, $2,500 upfront, and then $7,500 at the end of the project. They've got, and you've got the MOU there. It's pretty, I think, standard. Lee did take a look at it. He felt comfortable with it. It was funny because they did one about the Adirondacks right before, or maybe at very early stages of COVID. Park it, they have this Park It kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, like a series that they're trying to do. And so Tug Hill would be a natural fit. And I was in Oswego yesterday for Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary stuff, and they're also using WPBS to do some documentaries, and they had, and I did an interview for that thing. So their PBS is doing a lot of neat stuff. They're everywhere, and I think it's pretty high quality.
There's a thing on, maybe it's on Tuesday nights, is that July 5th? Tuesday nights, they have a little PBS 6 or 7 minute thing. I don't have it in Osceola, so I don't ever see it, but they came up to the settlers and did a tour and interviewed a couple of different people, me and some musicians play.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be on July 5th at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't get WPBS at my house either, so it's hard to see them. I don't know if they get it, if they put it on their website or not. I need to-
It'll be on, he told me it would be on Facebook
oh, okay.
after a while.
And the
So in
idea was,
essence, we're looking for 10,000 from the commission and
yep,
upwards of $60,000 will be contributions like in kind from
yeah,
WPBS.
and money that they raise.
Yeah,
And the idea would be this would premiere at our 50th anniversary annual dinner. It'll take that long to do, I mean, they want to do drone footage, you want to get 3 or 4 seasons, so they want to start this summer, get through, and then that would be part of our 50th anniversary celebration.
and as per the agreement, you're going to develop and produce Park It. But any early ideas on
Like the
what-
themes.
yeah, what this will look like?
Yeah, it would be more about the natural resources, but it would take some of the items out of the rec guide. So if you remember, the rec guide has a lot of community focus too, and try to talk about all the different types of recreation, but we talked about logging, we talked about agriculture too. I pointed them to our YouTube channel where we did letters from Tug Hill Logger. I'm like, there's a lot of things you should look at to kind of orient yourself to the region, and then we'll be working on it. They'll come up with more of a specific outline of how they want it to run, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of back and forth. And then,
Storyboard.
yeah, and then they're gonna make it so there's like, it's all digital, and so you can pull like 2 or 3 minute little clips out, and it's like, ready for social media kind of thing. You can't just have hour long documentaries these days and age. It needs to be digestible in little bits for people with short attention spans.
A nice snippet would be a partner to the Our Land Trust, as well as maybe have them do maybe a couple of minutes, a crew doing the tourist trail.
Yeah, that'd be nice one, yeah.
Nothing major, just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Segments.
Yeah, give them your own yeah, there's lots of, so if you have ideas of things you think they should cover in that, definitely write it down, send it to me. But I would like a approval on that too, if you don't mind.
Any questions?
No, but I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I already talked about the Toy Story exhibit. A couple other quick things, you saw in Toy Times, Friday, that we've got a really exciting presentation by Dr. John Colucci scheduled for Thursday, July 28th as part of Friends of the Black River. He's the author of the book that we talked about, Master of the Journal, a couple of meetings ago. He's gonna be at the Loudville Academy Central School District. Is kind of being billed as part of the whole Riverfest. So Thursday night is his presentation. Friday, there's food truck Fridays that Lewis County does. It's gonna be in Krogan, and then Saturday is the actual Riverfest canoe kayak event on the river. So kind of a whole series of things, which is a little nice, get a little attention, but so that's happening. We've also got a couple other historical webinars in the offing, one of them being about Swampit Mills, and I spent some time with Bob Sauer last week trying to dig on the history of Swampit Mills, which has been here.
Did you find? Bob?
It was Bob and I, we met with Jim Burke again, and then we were gonna meet with Warren Mathis, but he wasn't feeling well, so we didn't end up going. Yeah, because he's really the one you gotta talk to. We drove through and found some old foundations. I sent a couple of letters. There's a Swampit that's lives in Boonville on Woodgate Drive, Jack Swampit. Do you happen to know him? We were thinking he's probably one of the last people from the family. He's in his 80s. I tried calling him and I think he thought I was a telemarketer. So I sent a letter in the mail to him last week to explain who I
What was
was.
his name?
Jack. And then there was the town of Lewis historian, Ruth maybe, that I've tried to reach out to. Because this, I mean, there was quite a settlement there and there's nothing.
There was a busy hotel there. you know?
Yeah, there was a school, there was lots of things, so that's under development. Jen's, I think, gonna talk about one too in hers.
All the questions.
Yeah, maybe Wayne, maybe I should talk to Wayne.
I have a relative who was Joe Kwasniewski's daughter,
Oh.
and
Well, that was, what do they call
I
it?
don't know, Joe Squash.
Joe Schwab, yeah.
And then one of her children is married to a Squacket from Boonville,
Oh,
so.
yeah, if you want to connect me with them, that would be
Oh, yeah.
awesome, maybe,
That
okay,
might- That might be good.
yeah,
And Bob Sauer knows her real well.
oh,
She was a lumber grader, Joanne Kwasniewski Ritter.
really, okay. You didn't mention her the other day.
Oh, he knows her real well.
Okay.
One of her daughters married to a Squacket from Boonville.
Okay. So, and we're gonna try to do it, it's gonna be September, I think, 17th, and I've got a request into the West Lyden Elementary School. Originally, we're thinking of doing it in Utica with the United County History Center, but I think it's better to have it closer to the actual place, because I think we'll get a lot more local people if it's there. So hopefully we'll get the West Lyden Elementary School, which is just down the road, and should be fun, but we're gonna be in person and online. Jim's gonna sing songs. I mean, he's really sharp. He sang some songs for us last week. It's very fun, so.
Do you have his book in the
I
library?
have, yep, have his book. So that'll be fun. I already talked about the US program. We have a Salmon Rivers North Shore Council of Government joint meeting scheduled for July 7th. Which is a Thursday. We had a lot of problems getting it scheduled, but we finally got it on the calendar, and it'll be at Tailwater. So if any commissioners are interested in attending, we would welcome you. Dave Turner from Oswego County is gonna come to speak about county initiatives and about the possibility of doing some economic development planning more specific to those councils of government. So that's gonna be exciting. And that'll be the first time that COG's met in a while, so very important meeting. Also, I'm gonna be in Oswego County, speaking of Dave Turner, on Thursday night. He's invited us to come. They're having a shared services meeting of all the towns and villages in Oswego County to talk about broadband. And so he wants us to share what we've been doing with broadband, our map and that kind of thing. So that was nice to get invited to that. And I think that's all I'm gonna talk about, because we got Jen next Sunday. She's got lots of things on her list. So.
I was gonna talk about the village's property, the mayor will come back, but he wants to talk about it, he can. As you all know, it's grant writing season. Sit over here, stand over here. It's grant writing season, so we've got 3 possible grants in the works, or that we're part of. One of them is the Village of Adams and their playground, or behind the old school in Adams. It's a village-owned property, so we're working with the village and with BNL to create their grant application, building off of something that we submitted last year, but it's much different this year, so.
Where is the playground? At the old school?
Behind the old school, it's now an apartment building, so
Yep.
great village-owned spot. Another CFA will be submitting with the town of Martinsburg is Whitaker Park, and then possibly the Westorian Salt Shed. I was just mentioning the village's project with BNL at the playground. Do you want to say a few words about it?
Well, yeah, we've got it started. The preliminary plan. I don't have it with me. It's probably 3 or 4 stages. The original start probably at the playground, picnic area, pollinator area, possibly a gazebo area, walking trails around it. We're sitting at about $200,000 at the moment. We don't know what's priced to it cost. That's where we're at.
And that's the village?
Village is going to be up at the old Schultz building. Required, the property was given to us for free. So,
Is there gonna be a ball field yet?
Nope.
No ball field.
all of it was out on Spring Street. That was the biggest complaint.
No ball field.
Complaint about, no,
Oh, they didn't like it there.
they didn't like it there because kids were just trying to hit the ball as far as they can get it. Breaking windows and.
I can't believe kids would do things like that.
Yeah,
All right.
so it started.
Taken long time.
Yeah, well, COVID really put a kibosh on it. Otherwise, it'd probably be,
Katie just went through some of the events, but I will talk about, we just finished the Black River Watershed Conference that we had over at Three Willows. Jerry?
It was very nice.
It was a good event and
Beautiful.
so a beautiful facility. The comment we heard over and over was, never even knew this place was here. This is beautiful. And it was.
They should put a sign up.
The Willow.
Should do
There's no
something.
sign.
We had about 80 people, which I was really pleased with coming out of COVID. The last one we had was 100, but that was 3 years ago. So I'm pretty happy with that. That conference, if you didn't know, is a partnership with all the soil and water conservation districts in the Black River watershed. So we really try to feature their projects and other projects. And we had Tom Voss, retired VC, MC the event, and he's a natural. He does a really good job. So in terms of Black River, the next thing we'll be working on, be working on it with Patricia, is the Black River Trash Bash, which is an annual cleanup event. Katie talked about the Friends of the Black River. I can say that we've already started talking about the 50th anniversary in 2023 and planning for the commission's annual dinner for that. The other webinar, Katie mentioned Swan Mills. The other one we're working on with Taylor, the new staff, is the Snow Ridge. So she'll be working on like a history of it. Apparently there's a very colorful and maybe international flavor to the opening of Snow Ridge. So I thought that'd be interesting for the winter of 2022 or 23. And then, of course, we also mentioned that we're in the negotiating works with the LGC in 2023. So other projects, sort of regional projects in the works. We're working with EFC. The other one,
Environmental Finance Center.
Thank you. Environmental Finance Center in Syracuse for a succession planning type of, I guess, tutorial, if you will, some just ways that communities can begin to start thinking about succession planning. A lot of times, one person in the town or village will have a ton of information and that person may leave or may pass away, and then nobody knows passwords and nobody knows who to call when something breaks. So it's just an exercise in maybe a paper, recorded webinars, some tools that towns and villages may find useful. So that's in the works. Katie mentioned broadband, and we continue to be involved with Mohawk Valley Economic Development Council, Economic Development District. They've recently taken on a project where they're hiring out project to address the digital divide in the northern part of the Mohawk Valley region. So that's parts of Fulton, Montgomery, Herkimer, Oneida counties, and they've asked us to be on their steering committee for that project, which has been pretty interesting. It's nice to follow somebody on the cutting edge, if you will, of that process. Another way, another project we're working on is mapping official roads. GPS data collection, GIS exposure, all great tools for existing staff and the new staff. So hoping to get folks out in the field soon. There's also an effort to get some trails and ball fields implemented in the town of Adams. Katie mentioned Northern Border Regional Commission. We may be administering the grant for the Turner Ridge Riders if they're awarded. That's something new for us. And then finally, I'll mention that there's a movement in the Jefferson County Soil and Water Conservation District of them completing and implementing a 9-element plan for the Sandy Creek watershed. And they're really excited to try to take that on in-house and hopefully involving us in the education outreach to the communities. That's it.
And so Joe mentioned Sandy Creek, so remember many years ago when ecosystem-based management came along, we did a demonstration area on the Sandy Creek. So it starts at the bottom, Little Sandy, and then there's South Sandy, and there's Sandy, and there's
Big Sandy.
Yeah, they're very creative with their naming of all the creeks. But,
And there's no sand on any of them.
it's awesome.
It's just for not the
A little bit. So that would be kind of a reboot of that to some extent, looking at that same watershed again, but with a different lens. And it'd be nice because it's coming from the district this time, it's not state, but.
It's a new director there. It's Patrick Crest, and then they have Sarah, I forgot her last name, is their new staff person, and she's got a lot of GIS experience, so she'll be taking on the modeling and mapping. You've met her?
I met her.
Yeah,
She's
Good.
amazing.
yeah.
So Pat Krantz is the other,
Is the executive director now.
a lot of experience.
We're really excited, so hard not to get excited with them, so.
Yeah, that district, the Jefferson County District, went from a staff of really 2 employees to 5 overnight. And they hired 3 youngsters, all in their 20s, and they're just really excited about the new direction for the district to follow. A lot of education, a lot of youth involvement, things like that. It's really exciting.
Who's the girl that works for the commission that
Patricia.
knows about that? She knows a lot about the invasive species and stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
Yeah, a lot
I
of what
talked to her about Japanese now.
she told me, yeah. She told me. She says, yes, she's helping, so she's listening. One of the things, I mean, all the things I just mentioned, I mean, most of them involve, old staff, but we have to bring the new staff into this. And all these CFAs and new initiatives and webinars, we're trying to constantly find ways to bring the new staff into it, to train them and, impart the knowledge.
I told her about the Japanese knotweed that grows up along the rivers. They're out there at the lake cutting it down. And all the seeds are going in the water and running out to the lake. It's just crazy. And there's no way to get rid of the
There
seeds
is
and
no,
stuff.
we have it at my house, so you pull it, you pull it, pull it. And I know they've done this chemical injection where they inject it into each stem. You know, the stems are.
We have some just to start of it up by the fiddlers. And every year they dump stuff down it's like bamboo,
Yeah,
They dump stuff down the hole. Every year it comes back. You can't kill that stuff.
yeah. we just keep pulling it to manage it so it doesn't get any bigger. Yeah.
Peter has a theory. He thinks that you could cut it down and put landfill covering, you know, the big thick black stuff, right over the whole patch of it. That eventually it would kill it.
Yeah,
But
because it just takes a very small root, right? Couple other things I thought of as Jen was talking about, we are scheduled for the county fairs, so we're gonna be tabling at all the county fairs. I have a question. There's also Woodman's this year, and we've been asked to come to Woodman's, which is the same time as the Oswego County Fair. And the United County Fair booth charge is like double what everybody else is asking for. So I don't know, Jerry, especially if you have any insight, should we go to do both? If we went to just Woodman's, would we really be getting the population that we would be getting at county fair?
I think Woodsman's would be better if you had to choose. Part of the, is the, it says the Boonville Oneida County Fair, but it's owned, I mean, there's a board of directors. They receive money from the county, but there is a board of directors that puts up money every year, and then they receive money back. There's an organization that makes money off. It's not like other county fairs.
That's why it's so much. Oh.
That is why it's so much.
Well, as a person who manned the booth at the United County Fair last year, I
And you had a
think we
lot of
should,
fun.
we should go to the Woodsman's Field Days.
I think that they would be a better.
Okay. Well, that's
That is my recommendation.
That's exactly why I wanted to ask you. So we've sent some paperwork in for the other three because it was reasonable and that's really the only option, but I waited on an item because I wanted to hear what your input was. I think Wisman's is a good place for us to be too, and I don't think it's gonna cost us anything. They want all your webinars on Letters from a Tug Hill Logger and our other ones on a loop on the TV because they think that's great.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll have to split, unfortunately, we'll have to split our display, you know, we'll have to figure out what goes to Oswego County and what goes to Wisman's, but all right, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to know on that one.
You can sign up for,
You
you can put me back.
Okay, I'll send you back out the sign up sheet. You can all look at it. I think that's-
And you'll remind us what dates we can.
Yeah. And the other one thing I wanted to mention, so Fort Drum is obviously a huge deal in the northern part of the region, and we have sat on their, they have a so Advocate Drum, also known as Fort Drum Regional Liaison Organization, is kind of, you know, the nonprofit that spearheads a lot of the activities to support Fort Drum, and if there's an issue, they help organize a response to like things. They have a sustainability committee that we've sat on for many years. And I was asked to become the chair of the sustainability committee because Dave Zembeck, you may know Dave Zembeck is going to be the new chair of FDRLO. So he's like, I can't do both. So I have accepted that role as the chair of the committee. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I already went to the meetings, but it was just kind of a nice, I think, nod to the Tug Hill Commission and that we're seen as a valued partner for Fort Drum. I mean, that's just a really important thing for us as an organization to be involved with. So I did want to mention that. That's all I have.
Yeah, I was the only one in the history of the United County Fair that actually jumped the fence to get out. With all due respect.
It scared you, man. It scared you.
Only for a short time. Let's jump right into the finance report.
So you've got these in your packet. I'm sorry I didn't get them out to you earlier Friday, Friday in the office was a little bit hectic. The 21-22 financial statement again is pretty close to final, but there's still, we're in that lapsing phase of the budget. You have 3 months after the technical end of the budget to finish up all your filling and all that. So some of that stuff is still working its way through the process. But you know, it is what it is. We're pretty good there. And then this current fiscal year 22-23, you'll see we're the LGC, we're showing, you know, the loss there, which we're trying to remedy with some of the ways we're going to reorganize the 2023 LGC.
Who's actually doing the audit for that? Is that the budgets?
The
Or is it-
audit on last year,
Yeah.
well, they don't really audit us, I mean, they look at the payment and they ask us details on the payment.
So that'll be the controls officer?
Yeah, that's controlled
Okay.
office, yeah. Vehicle insurance was a little bit higher than last year. The vehicle replacement, so we've done OGS to sign up, another process. Lots of sign offs before we can go out and get our new vehicle, but OGS is signed off, budget has signed off, so now we go into the vehicle marketplace and try to find an actual hybrid SUV, so stay tuned for that, we're working on it. The goal is to have it before winter, because we don't want to put the money in new tires onto the vehicles we have. Other than that, I mean, we're fine, we had, the 10,000 on the research and analysis line, so the 2,500 for the video I see coming out of that. We haven't heard yet on the Black River History Cultural Resource Inventory we talked about a couple of months ago. We haven't heard on that grant yet, so we don't know if we're actually spending that money or not. So that's all I got. If anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer.
Any questions? We'll move right into public comment, or commissioners and public, have anything, Lee, any comments, questions, anything?
I had a curious check this week, and I don't know what it's from. The only thing I ever turn a voucher in for is my mileage.
Right, I got one too. But I remember I didn't have them for a long
Right,
period.
you guys probably got
I
my
got it,
checks?
yes.
Is that what yours is? or
I
yours
don't
is?
know, I can't tell, it doesn't say Tuggill Commission on it anyplace.
So I ran to the bank and cashed my.
It's for the state, yeah.
This,
Yeah,
is
it's
that
gotta
the
be,
big-
is it sound, does a dollar?
the
amount
property
actually,
tax
you know,
refund.
in the ballpark?
It looks like a lot to me, $218.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Yeah, that's normal for, I gotta buy that for your cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what?
Oh,
So
it
is it
was,
Star?
no, it was something that Opal did as an incentive.
Yes, that's what it is.
Because of everything that's going on with inflation, she's dispersing everybody else's property.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah,
check
it
based
says-
on
I
it.
got one that doesn't
I
say
got,
something
I
about
surprisingly got
mileage.
mine too, about 2 weeks ago. They're bringing to the pot, it was about $200.
Yeah.
I know, it doesn't say.
Sometimes just say-
Depends on your tax assessor.
It can't be,
It's
reimbursement,
income.
because we haven't done vouchers.
No, it's.
Right.
It's a state.
It says New York State on it?
Yeah.
That's it, that's it, yep, same, I got the same one.
Yep.
Yeah, if you go to home, it's based on your assessment.
That's what my dad said.
You didn't get
She
one?
said you didn't get one.
See, and I'll have to give this to my
Then I got
daughter.
another one for mileage.
Oh, okay.
Or just pocket it.
No, she knows.
And buy right here one day for it.
She'll be asking.
Yeah, it was a surprise, a nice surprise in the mail.
Don't get much.
Oh, wow.
So I wouldn't consider
That's
that
still-
as having anything to do with the voucher.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Well, she'll be glad.
Yeah, I was surprisingly.
My son even got one, and he didn't even apply for Star for his house.
No, neither, I don't
He's got
have.
a picture of. the
Everybody,
proposed
it's an
playground.
Some people don't know. Some people don't qualify for it, they're not old enough for it. So
Is that what it is?
Yeah. you gotta be so much. You get.
Well,
you
there's
get some
star and then there's enhanced.
enhanced
Yeah,
for it,
oh,
yeah.
correct, yeah, that's right, with the military.
It's amazing how much effort goes
Service,
into a project like that, you wouldn't think, but.
So I-
Well,
I
that's the
think that's when I
playground.
said, well,
Well, you know, parish.
I recommend.
What
that's
is
like
it?
my range.
That's.
I did, right on, I do it on my phone, like the minute I got it, I'm like, yes. And then I saw on Facebook a bunch of people were asking about it, they said, oh, you got one.
Yeah, nobody. That's.
I'm really
playground.
asshole, I'm
Oh.
surprised.
Maybe.
I was a little aggressive. We just took it to the county, and they cried, and then we got on the tennis courts and baseball fields. They've done more since I did that, but initially, I didn't feel like this one was first.
Yep.
And I named it Woody Park Rural Park layers over various supervisors. They knocked us down, brought back. It's like reinventing. It's like, I told them.
July 29th.
I said, you never.
It's been around before.
Oh, that's right.
No, no, no.
She said she's doing
I
it.
brought it
Yep.
in.
Awesome.
Everything was on.
I wish I could.
So we was in the head of the mayor. I kept this. I went to her. Who does that look like you? As a younger man, as a picture from a sign, dedicated sign? Oh, I didn't know that.
Gentlemen, the historical society.
Any other comments or questions, anything?
I have a question. The community recognition awards, did you get an application?
Yep, we have an award fee and we'll be working with the COGS to take a look at that, but we should be in good shape to have an award in October, so.
That's it? We have a motion to adjourn.
I'm a
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next business meeting is gonna be Monday, September 19th, and it'll be in Trenton.
In Graham's Diner.